So I hope you guys are able to see me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll get started. So last topic I remember explaining was the concept of dielectrics and polarization, right? During the time I introduced a new term called as, what was the term I introduced? It's called as relative permittivity, or the other name for it is dielectric constant. I hope you guys have revised it and remember. Right? Is there any doubt from the topic?
No, sir.
So, relative permittivity, let me read out the definition again. It says it is a ratio of what? It is a ratio of the permittivity of the given medium to the
Permitted of free space.
permittivity of free space, right? And the symbol used is kappa, or sometimes they use epsilon with the r as the subscript. Okay, so these are all the basic concepts. So having all these points in mind, we are going to discuss an important topic of this chapter, which is called as capacitors. Right. So the next topic of our discussion is going to be, what does a capacitor mean? Right. So what is a capacitor? Anybody? So it is a device. Right. What device is it? It's an electrical, or you can call it as electronic also. It is used both in electrical and electronics. So tell me one thing, have you ever heard this? Sometimes the ceiling fan in your house stops working. If an electrician comes, what do they first check? Any idea? Have you heard something like this?
White color cylinder like thing like
They use something called as condenser. No? They say the condenser of this particular fan would have stopped working. Have you heard this? So the condenser, if you see, it will be in the form of a cylinder with two wires. If you have not seen it for the next time if this kind of an issue occurs. Okay. So condenser is another name for a capacitor. Okay, here the condenser they are trying to speak about is something in the form of a cylinder. So we call it as cylindrical capacitor here. So have this in your mind. Condensers and capacitors being the same. Okay. So what do these devices do actually? So these are devices which are used to, or which is used to. Can you complete this sentence?
store charge.
It is used to store charge. Okay. Okay. So if this is a device which is used to store charge, how is it supposed to be designed? That's another question. So where can I think of storing charges? That's the first question I need to answer. Where can I give more charges is the second question we need to answer. Right? So how should a capacitor be designed? The basic design of a capacitor is like this. I have a conductor and I have another conductor, okay, which are separated by a dielectric medium, okay, where one conductor has positive charge and the other conductor has negative charge on it, okay, of equal magnitude. Then this kind of an arrangement is what is called as a capacitor. So what does a capacitor consist of? Capacitor consists of two conductors of equal magnitude and opposite nature of charges, separated by what? Separated by a dielectric medium. Why this dielectric medium is used, we will see later. Okay, why it is used, I'll explain you with the mathematical equations. So I hope it is clear till this point. Right?
Yes, sir.
One minute. Guys, are you able to see that the session is getting recorded? Beside my name, are you able to see RC?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yeah. So this is how a capacitor is designed. So depending on the shape of the conductor that is being used, basically capacitors are classified into three types. Any idea? So the basic classification of capacitors based on the shape of conductor is of three types. One is called
Parallel plate, spherical and
parallel plate capacitor.
spherical and cylindrical.
Next is called as spherical, and the third is
Cylindrical.
very good. The third is cylindrical. So, if the two conductors take the shape of a parallel plate, they take the shape of a parallel plate. Just a minute. So here I have a parallel plate, I have a plate, and here I have a plate. If there are two parallel plates where these two parallel plates are conductors separated by dielectric medium, then that is what we call it as a parallel plate capacitor. If you have two spherical shells separated by dielectric medium, here will be the dielectric medium, then that kind of an arrangement is called as spherical. If there are two cylinders which are separated by dielectric medium, then it is what is called as a cylindrical capacitor, where one of the cylinders will be given positive charge, the other will be given negative charge. Similarly here, one of the shells will be given positive and the other will be given negative. So in your CBSE syllabus, we don't read about spherical or cylindrical. We discussed only about a parallel plate capacitor. So when I say we are going to discuss about a parallel plate capacitor, we are going to calculate certain parameters for it. So what did we understand from the definition of a capacitor? The work of a capacitor is to store charge, right? So how is it going to store charge? If it is able to store charge, what is the capacity of it? Technically, it's called as capacitance. How do we calculate the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor in terms of its charge and other geometrical parameters? So these are all the things we are going to see. Thirdly, we will see what will happen if you change the intermediate medium between the plates. Okay, shall we get started? So the first thing is, see, if I see, generally the symbol for a parallel plate capacitor is like this: one line and another line. Okay, they are put like this. So a battery is drawn like this, no. Similarly, a parallel plate capacitor is drawn with both the lines of equal length, where one will be given positive charge, other will be given negative charge. So instead of looking at the parallel plate like this, we'll be seeing it in this way. Okay, this is for a capacitor with fixed parameter called as capacitance. Okay, there are certain capacitors whose capacitance can be changed with respect to time. Then you will put an arrow mark like this. This is a capacitor of variable capacitance. Okay, now the first concept you are going to see is capacitance of a capacitor. The parallel plate, spherical or cylindrical. I am generally calling, how do you define the capacitance of a capacitor? Okay, so when I have a conductor here, I have another conductor here. One should be given positive charge, one should be given negative charge. Now the question is, if I take a conductor as such, is it directly going to get the charge that we need? Is it directly going to get the charge that we need? Or you take a conductor directly, is it possible for you to take a conductor, one of plus 1 coulomb and the other of minus 1 coulomb? You need to do certain operations, right? So generally when you take a conductor, is it neutral, is it charged, is it positively charged or negatively charged?
It's neutral, sir.
Neutral.
So to a neutral material, if you need to give charge, what are all the ways we can do? One is through the process of induction and the other is through the process of
Induction.
friction. Okay, the third way is you directly take the conductors and connect them across a battery. Suppose you connect these conductors across a battery, let's say of potential difference V, then what will happen? There will be a charge Q sitting on this material, right? So the charge Q sitting on the top of the conductor. So if this is of plus Q, then according to the theory, this will be minus Q. So the charge that is sitting on the capacitor is observed to be directly proportional to the amount of potential difference you apply. In the sense, as you keep increasing the potential difference, the amount of charge that is getting stored on the capacitor can also be increased. But there is a certain limit for it. Okay. So, but one factor I can say is initially the conductors have zero charge. As soon as you connect a battery, you can increase the charge on them in proportion to the amount of potential difference you apply. So when I remove the symbol of proportionality, what do I get? I need to introduce a constant. So the constant that you are going to introduce here is called as C multiplied with V. What is the C called as? The C is what is called as the capacitance of this particular capacitor. Okay, you have to understand this point, right?
Yes, sir.
How do you define capacitance as Q divided by U? Correct? So it is Q divided by V. Now, if I ask you to give a definition to it, I am asking you to give a definition from this mathematical expression. So experimentally you did something, you found out something. By doing something you found out, no? How are you going to define it? So how do you define capacitances? It is defined like this. Amount of charge stored per unit potential difference. So how do I define the capacitance of a capacitor? If I take a capacitor, if I give 1 volt charge to it, if I am able to find out how much charge is getting deposited on the plates, the amount of charge deposited divided by that 1 volt will give me the capacitance of that conductor, of the capacitor. You able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next, what is going to be the SI unit of it?
Coulomb per volt.
It is Coulomb per
Per
volt.
volt.
Right, I was right. COULOMB by volt, or it is C divided by V or CV inverse. This Coulomb per volt is collectively called as something. Do you guys know what it is?
Farad.
Called Farad, and Farad is a name derived from the name of a scientist, Michael Faraday. Okay. That is why the symbol used for Farad is capital F. Okay. Here, an important point to be noted is Farad in general is a very big unit. Hence, capacitances are generally represented in microfarad. If you see the capacitance of the capacitor, no, it will be in terms of microfarad. Because I told you it's a very small device. I'll tell you the reason for it later. Because you need some mathematical expressions to understand why farad is a very big quantity. Okay. So this is the basic structure of what does a capacitance mean. Now I have a question. Okay. Suppose see, we know that the question. So C is equal to Q divided by V. So from this I can write Q is equal to C into V. Right? This is like a formula, have it in your mind. Q is equal to C. If the charge on the capacitor is increased, what will happen to the capacitance of it? You guys tell me, if the charge on the capacitor is increased, what will happen to the capacitance of it?
It will also increase, sir.
It will also increase.
So that should also increase. You're saying answer is it will increase, right?
I think it will not increase.
So what is the reason for it? C is
Directly proportional.
directly proportional to Q. Correct? Rohan?
Yes, sir.
This is the reason. But this is wrong.
That will remain constant, sir.
Capacitance in this case, it is a constant, right? So
Reason why it is constant is because when you go to a shop and buy a capacitor, its capacity is fixed. It is like you go to a shop and buy a 750 ml water bottle. Okay, in 750 ml water bottle, is it possible for you to fill 1 liter of it? That water you are filling is like charge. That 750 ml is like the capacitance. That voltage is nothing but tap. You're able to understand? So, capacitance does not depend on the charge or the potential difference. They will confuse you by asking such questions. Okay. So, sometimes they can ask what when the voltage is increased, capacitance will decrease. No, nothing will happen. Its capacity is the same. So, you go to a shop and buy itself, you will be able to find the specifications on it. 10 microfarad, it will be written on top of it. Okay. So, it does not change. And that is the reason why we introduced as a constant of proportionality. Okay. So, C is always a constant. So if C is always a constant, then how are we going to change it? That's another question we need to answer, right? For that, we will try to calculate the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. So the next setting that we are going to see is capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. Okay. So I have a system of parallel plates between which, let's say, there is air medium as of now. Okay. So what will happen to the plates of the capacitor is the inner plates will have positive charge and here the inner plate will have negative charge. Okay. So where is the electric field going to be present? This concept I told you in the previous chapter, there is a problem. I think problem number 23 or 24. So where is the charge going to sit? I mean, where is the electric field going to be present?
Between the two plates.
In between
The two plates. So between the two plates, what is going to be the value of electric field? Now tell me, if I say the surface charge density of this parallel plate as sigma, then the surface charge density of this parallel plate will be minus sigma according to the definition. If the area of cross section of both the plates is A, when I say area of cross section, think of this like a parallel plate, okay? So this is what I'm trying to say as the area of cross section. Right? So this is what I'm calling it as the area of cross section. So here the charge is going to sit, okay? Now, what is going to be the value of the electric field inside? So what is going to be the value of electric field? Okay, before that you should understand why I'm trying to calculate electric field. Okay, let me tell you what is the procedure to calculate the capacitance for any capacitor they ask. So what is the basic definition of capacitance? C is equal to Q divided by V. Right? So Q in general can be written as sigma into A. Why did I write it as sigma into A? Because
Surface charge density.
Q divided by A, so Q is equal to sigma into A. Divided by, whenever there is a constant electric field existing between the plates, then what you can say is V can be written as E into, so we know that E is equal to minus dV by dr. Do you guys remember this? I told you it's a very important expression. It's called the negative of the potential gradient. So if I ignore the minus sign, so minus sign indicates that the electric field is from higher to lower potential. Since I have the arrow marks here already, I'm ignoring the minus sign. So the potential difference between the plates is V, and if I say the separation between the plates as small d, then V is equal to V divided by D. From this I can write V is equal to E into D. Is there anyone having confusion in this?
No doubt, sir.
No, sir.
So you take this EV and substitute it here, you will get something like this. So,
Sir, can you explain once more so that E is equal to volt by distance?
yes, so minus dV by dr is there, no? If I ignore the minus sign, why am I ignoring the minus sign? Because I know the direction of the electric field. So dV is the potential difference between the plates, right? Imagine you have connected a battery here. Okay, imagine you have connected a battery here. So the potential difference between the plates will be equal to the value of the potential difference of the battery. Okay, so that's what I wrote it as V divided by the electric field is calculated from the first plate to the second plate. It is because it is existing between the plates. V divided by what is the distance of separation between them? That is
D.
small d. That is why I wrote it as V by D. So V is equal to E into D.
Yes.
Okay. So one way is if suppose in the question they have given you the charge and potential difference, divide both so that you will directly get the capacitance. That is one way. Not in every question they will directly give you charge. Not in every question they are going to give you potential difference. Sometimes they can give you surface charge density and electric field. Then this will be the secondary formula. Okay, so please make a note of this point also. So sigma into A divided by E into D is another formula for capacitance. Now we are going to calculate. So what is the value of electric field here, guys? So electric field due to the first plate plus electric field due to the second plate. Why did I add them? Because they both are in same direction. Observe, I didn't write it in vector form. I know that E1 is to the right, E2 is also to the right because negative plate will pull the electric field towards it. So what is the value of E1? Is it not sigma by 2 epsilon naught? Plus E2 is also sigma divided by 2 epsilon naught. So you will get 2 times sigma by 2 epsilon naught or sigma divided by epsilon naught. So what is the net value of electric field, guys? It is sigma divided by epsilon naught. Okay. So if I take all these values and substitute it in the equation, C will be equal to, so using 2 in 1, what do I get? Sigma into A divided by sigma divided by epsilon naught into D. So sigma and sigma are gone, you will get epsilon naught A divided by D. Any doubt in this? So what is this? This is the capacitance of whom? Of a parallel plate capacitor, which you are supposed to remember always. So whenever they ask you what is the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor, it is epsilon naught times A divided by D, where epsilon naught is the permittivity of the medium, A is the area of cross section, D is the distance of separation between them. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please make note of it. Okay. Here. Here an important note to be noted is capacitance does not depend on charge or potential difference. This we know. So charge and potential difference are electrical parameters, right? But capacitance depends on something. What is it?
Permittivity of permittivity of the medium.
Yes, it depends on the permittivity of medium between the conductors.
Area
Second,
of the plates.
it depends on area of cross section of plates. So capacitance of whom? It is only about a parallel plate. It is not the same for spherical or cylindrical. Capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor depends on permittivity of medium between the conductors, area of cross section of plates, and third, distance of separation between them. And it depends on the distance of separation between them. Are you able to understand this?
Yes, sir.
Let's do a small problem. This is what I will explain. C is equal to epsilon naught A divided by D. Okay, I told you farad is a very big quantity, right? Let us see why it is so. So, which is expected will depend. So, one thing to be noted here is the capacitance depends only on the geometrical parameters of the system. Okay. For typical values, that is typical values in the sense, generally we take a unit value. If I take A is equal to 1 meter square and B is equal to 1 millimeter, then the capacitance of the capacitor will be how much? That is, if I take a capacitor whose area is 1 meter and this is 1 meter, okay, and the distance of separation between the plates is 1 millimeter, which is very small. Okay, that small the capacitors are generally. Okay, 1 millimeter. Then what is going to be the capacitance of the capacitor? It will be 8.85 into 10 power minus 9 farad or 8.85 nanofarad. Okay, so here what is going to happen is this 1 farad is generally a very big unit in practice. Okay, the reason for why this is very big is, if suppose you want a capacitor of capacitance 1 farad, okay, you want a capacitor of capacitance 1 farad, then epsilon naught into A divided by D. Let's say the distance of separation between them is maintained as, so let's say the distance of separation between them is maintained as 1 centimeter, for example. Generally the distance should be very small. Okay, if D is taken to be 1 centimeter or 1 millimeter also, 1 centimeter, epsilon naught is how much? It is 8.85 into 10 power minus 12. Then what is going to be the area? So area will be equal to C into D divided by epsilon naught. C is how much? 1. D is how much? 10 power minus 2 divided by epsilon naught is how much? 8.85 into 10 power minus 12. Okay. So is it not 1 by 8.85 into 10 power 10 meter square? So imagine, no, 10 power 10 meter square means, look at the size of the capacitor that you need to decide for 1 farad of capacitance. Is it possible? It is going to few kilometers, right? 10 power 10 meters square, right? So this is the reason why the capacitance is generally discussed only in terms of microfarad. Okay, there is a reason. Since it is a textbook, I wanted to explain this. Okay, I hope it is clear to this point. Right. Now comes an important question. What did I say is the definition of a capacitor? You need two conductors, and in between the conductors, what is supposed to be present? You need to have a,
dielectric medium.
why not a conducting medium? Why not a conducting medium? So I already have two conductors.
It exposes
That
the
one
charge
end-
to the atmosphere, sir.
Sorry?
It exposes the charge to the atmosphere, right? So conductors can be
So
avoided.
it releases, that is, there will be a charge leakage taking place. So conductors have the property of conducting. So they conduct the charges easily to the surroundings. So if that should not happen, what you need to have is, you need to have an insulator. That is nothing but a dielectric technically, right? So we are going to see what is going to happen to the capacitance on introduction of a dielectric. So the topic in your textbook is given as effect of dielectrics on capacitance. Okay. Suppose I have a parallel plate capacitor. Okay. In between, if I say I introduce a dielectric of dielectric constant kappa. So what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Will the capacitance of this capacitor increase, decrease, or is it going to be the same?
Same.
I think it will increase because.
By what factor?
Sir?
That's what we need to answer. Right? So for that we need to understand how exactly a dielectric medium works. Okay? So for this I have to come back from Coulomb's law. I'm just going to touch upon certain basics concentrated. If I have two charges of values q1 and q2 separated by a distance r, then what is going to be the force of attraction or repulsion between them?
The magnitude of the product of both charges.
1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into
Q1 Q2 by R square.
Q1 Q2 divided by R square. Right? If suppose I have this as a single system, so you wrote it as 1 by epsilon naught because these two charges are separated in what medium?
Air or vacuum.
Air medium or vacuum, right? If I take the same system and put it into a dielectric medium like water, do you think the charges will be able to interact among themselves in the same way?
No, that
Will
will be some.
there will be some kind of an opposition offered by the medium, right? If that is placed in water, okay, then what do you think would have happened? What would have been the value of f dash? Observe the change, is not there. 1 divided by 4 pi, what am I supposed to replace in the place of epsilon naught? I should write epsilon. Why? Because that will be the permittivity of the water medium in which the charges are present into Q1 Q2 divided by R square, right? But what is the basic definition of kappa, guys? Is it not epsilon divided by epsilon naught? So if this goes to the other side, can I write epsilon is equal to k times epsilon naught? So if I take this and substitute it here, f dash will be equal to what? 1 divided by 4 pi into kappa times epsilon naught multiplied with q1 q2 divided by r square, correct?
Yes.
So if I write 1 by kappa, what will happen? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q1 q2 divided by r square. What is this value? Is this not the force that was there in the air medium?
Yes, sir.
So 1 divided by kappa into F. So what happened to the force?
Yes.
So there is a decrease in the force between the two charges by a factor of the dielectric constant times. Correct? So whatever is the dielectric of that medium, you calculate the force in the air medium, divide it with the dielectric constant. That is what the answer is. Guys, are you able to understand? In a similar context, can I write that the electric field will also be E divided by kappa? You're able to understand this point? Or I will put it in a, I hope you guys have copied till here. Finished?
Yes, sir.
So could you show the diagram?
Do it now, sir.
So there is the air medium, there is water medium.
What we are doing now is for air or water, sir?
This is water. See, instead of water, I gave example as water. It can be any dielectric medium.
Okay, sir.
I can place a paper also in between. I can place a cement, whatever it is. A non-conducting medium is basically what I'm going to place. Or I will say a medium which has some electrical opposition, which can offer some electrical opposition. Okay. Now comes an important question. If that is going to be the value, how am I going to calculate the capacitance of this capacitor? So, if I call C in the air medium as epsilon naught A divided by D, accepted, then the capacitance with a dielectric medium is supposed to be what? Capacitance with the dielectric medium, not the capacitance of the dielectric medium. Capacitance with the dielectric medium will be, in the place of epsilon naught, what should I replace with? Epsilon A divided by D. But what did I say epsilon is? Is it not?
Kappa epsilon naught.
Yes. So what is going to happen is, observe guys, observe. So the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor with dielectric is kappa times capacitance with, in air medium, I can say like this. So what is happening to the value of kappa? What is happening to the value of capacitance? Is the capacitance increasing or decreasing? For that, the answer lies in whether the value of kappa is greater than 1 or less than 1. Remember, the value of kappa is always greater than 1. It's always greater than 1. So when I say the value of kappa is always greater than 1, what is going to be the value of capacitance? So when you have a dielectric medium in between the plates of a capacitor, then you can obviously increase the capacitance of it, and the logic also supports us. When dielectric is there, it can store more amount of charge. So its capacity is going to increase. Are you able to understand? So this is the value. So you're able to understand. So this is the capacitance of a capacitor with complete dielectric between the medium, between the conductors. Done? Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Now listen to this. Now listen to this. Sometimes what can happen is there will be a positive plate, there will be a negative plate. Okay. There will be a dielectric placed here whose capacitance is kappa 1. There will be an other dielectric placed here whose capacitance is kappa 2. Okay. Or I will put it like this. I will introduce only one capacitor with capacitance kappa 1 or kappa, whose thickness is T and the distance of separation between the plates is D. Then how much will this distance of separation be?
D minus T.
D minus T. Right. So here one fact you need to understand is the dielectric's thickness is how much? It is only T. The remaining D minus T is air medium. Accepted? Now, what is going to be the capacitance of this kind of a system? Anybody? Not sure? Okay, let's proceed like this. Now, due to the positive charge present, due to the positive and the negative charge present on the plates of the capacitor, there will be an electric field acting here. Accepted? There will be an electric field acting here.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
this value of electric field, how is it going to be present within the capacitor, within the dielectric? I explained you this concept. You guys remember this? So, when a dielectric is placed in external electric field of value E naught, then E naught will be present this side and E induced will be present inside, such that E naught minus E in, which is nothing but the net electric field inside, is not equal to 0, but it is equal to what? I gave you an important parameter. Go through your book and tell me what is the value I gave you.
E external by kappa.
It is E naught divided by the dielectric constant. You guys remember this? So E naught divided by the dielectric constant is going to be the value inside whom? Inside the capacitor, inside the dielectric. Okay. In air medium, it is still going to be E only. Why? Because the dielectric constant of air medium is how much? Can someone tell me? So dielectric constant of air medium is, so the formula is epsilon divided by epsilon naught. For air, what is the value of epsilon?
1.
Epsilon naught. So the dielectric constant is 1. And remember, air is not a conductor. Air is also a dielectric medium only. But its dielectric constant is 1. Okay. So I just want to clarify one thing, guys. I'm using this word dielectric constant and permittivity too many number of times, right? So can someone, do you guys have a clear understanding of what does permittivity mean? I remember theory in the first class, permittivity doesn't mean the amount of permission the medium is giving to interact. It is the amount of resistance offered by the medium. It is the amount of resistance offered by the medium for whom? For the charges to interact or for the electric field to exist in that medium. You're able to understand? So air will also provide some resistance, but its dielectric constant is very less. It's the least value that is possible. 1. You're able to understand? Now, there is a reason why I explained all these things. Suppose if I say the total potential difference across the plates of the capacitor, if I say the total potential difference across the plates of the capacitor is V, right? Then can I break this whole combination of capacitor into two parts? So what is one part? The first part contains the dielectric of constant K, and the other consists of a dielectric of constant relative permittivity 1, of dielectric constant 1. Okay. Now, if I say the potential drop here is V1, the potential drop here is V2, then what do you think will be the relation between V1 and V2 in terms of V? V will be equal to V1 plus V2. Accepted? Guys, if it is tough, please let me know. I'll change. If something is not clear, please let me know. Is everyone clear that V is equal to V1 plus V2? That is, your supply is potential of 5 volt. That 5 volt is getting divided as 2 volt across kappa and 3 volt across the air medium. That is what I wrote as V is equal to V1 plus V2. Right? So, I gave you a formula in the case of derivation of capacitance. What is the formula I gave you? I told V is equal to E into D. You guys remember this?
Yes, sir.
What is V1? V1 is the potential difference across the dielectric, and V2 is the potential difference across the air medium. Okay, so can I write V1 is equal to E1 into D, or I will write it as D1, where D1 is the thickness of that medium. Then V2 will be how much?
D2, D2.
Correct? Right. So E1 is how much now? What is going to be if the net electric field?
Epsilon naught by K.
Very good. It's not epsilon naught by K. It is E naught by K. E naught divided by kappa into what is the thickness of the first medium? Diagram. It's better you guys draw this in your note. So can I write this E naught divided by kappa into T? Then what is the value of V2? E naught into, why did I write E naught? Because E naught by kappa is 1. It is air medium. E naught into
D minus T.
D minus.
Very good. Okay. So I gave you an alternative formula for capacitance. Check and tell me what is the alternate formula. Is it not sigma into A divided by, in the place of V I can write it as V1 plus V2. See, I'll write it in this way for you to understand better. Is it not Q divided by V? Q is sigma into A divided by, in this case V is nothing but V1 plus V2. That is nothing but sigma into A divided by V1 is how much? E naught divided by kappa into T plus E naught into D minus T. Correct? But what is the value of E naught by? E naught is the electric field existing between the plates of the capacitor in air medium. In air medium, what is the value of electric field? Is it not sigma by epsilon naught? We have already derived that. Where is it? No. Sigma by epsilon naught. Right. I take this and substitute it here. See what is going to happen to the capacitance. It will be sigma into A divided by E naught is sigma by epsilon naught into I will combine this kappa with this T divided by kappa plus sigma by epsilon naught into D minus T. So what will get cancelled, guys? Look at this.
Sigma gets cancelled.
Sigma and sigma will get cancelled. This epsilon naught will go to the numerator. So what will be the final answer? It will be epsilon naught times A divided by T divided by kappa plus D minus T. So this is going to be the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor with a dielectric of how much thickness being inserted? With a dielectric of thickness T being inserted and dielectric constant kappa. Is that clear? If there is any doubt, please get it clarified immediately. If there is any point you want me to repeat, I'll do it. Till then, you can copy this. So what is E naught? E naught is the electric field in the air medium. E naught is the electric field in the air medium, which is sigma by epsilon naught.
So I have a doubt. Here we took E2 as only E0 because kappa value is 1, right? Since it's 1.
Because it is 1.
Okay, sir.
I gave you no dielectric medium of air is 1. That is the reason I didn't write by kappa. Okay, this derivation is also not there in the textbook, but problems are being asked on this. Be careful. 1 minute. So then why are we calculating E naught for electric field and dielectric? I didn't get why are we calculating E naught for electric field and dielectric constant? It's not dielectric constant, it is dielectric medium. In dielectric medium, see, if the electric field outside the dielectric medium is E naught, then the electric field inside the dielectric medium will become E naught by K. That is what I showed here. When I explained the concept of dielectric medium, I explained it. No, I hope this point everyone is clear. Right? Everyone?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Good. Done, guys? If you're writing it slowly, please take a screenshot. We'll move on to the next concept. Next concept is extension of this. T is the thickness, yes. T is the thickness of the dielectric medium. Okay, now observe this. If suppose I have a system like this, thickness T1 and dielectric constant kappa 1 and thickness T1. If I have another medium whose thickness is T2 and the dielectric constant is K2, and still the distance of separation between the plates is D. Okay, like this, let's say you have n such dielectrics, then what do you think is going to be the equivalent capacitance? It is very simple. Numerator is epsilon naught A divided by, you always first write D minus, what you need to write is, first subtract the thickness and add thickness divided by kappa 1. Again, subtract the second thickness and add the thickness divided by kappa 2. Like this, if it keeps on going, what will be the last term? Minus Tn plus Tn divided by kappa n. How did I get this? Is because, see, observe here, if I rearrange this equation, epsilon naught A divided by D minus T plus T by kappa. So D will be the first term minus thickness of the dielectric plus thickness of the dielectric divided by its dielectric constant. You're able to understand? Am I clear, guys? So this is how the formula will be. Generally, this big expression is not asked, but I have seen problems being asked on this concept, and it is there in your textbook also. We are going to do it now. Okay? Shall we proceed to the problem?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No, listen. See, this is the problem. There is a slab of material of dielectric constant K has the same area as the plates of the parallel plate capacitor, but has a thickness of how much? It has a thickness 3 by 4 times D. Then what does the D stand for? Where D is the separation between the plates. Okay. How much is the capacitance when the slab is introduced between the plates? So what is the value of C? C is equal to epsilon naught A divided by D minus
T
plus
K by K.
so it will be epsilon naught A divided by D minus T is nothing but 3 by 4 times D plus this T is also 3 by 4 times D divided by K. So how much are you going to get? Is it not epsilon naught A divided by D by 4 plus 3D by 4K? Right? So this 4 will go to the numerator. 4 times epsilon naught A divided by D into K plus 3. That is what you are going to get when you take LCM. But what is this epsilon naught A divided by D, guys?
C. Capacitance.
V.
It is a capacitance when the medium between the plates is air. So generally the medium between the plates is air, means they will write it as C with a naught at the bottom. Everywhere that is a notation, like how we write E naught, epsilon naught, you will write it as C naught. So 4 times C naught divided by K plus 3 will be the answer. That is the answer. So if you
I have
observe,
a doubt. Shouldn't 4K go up, sir?
4K,
4K epsilon naught A.
So if you observe the difference between the problem, the solution given here and the way we did it, can someone tell me what is the difference? What is C naught? C naught is the capacitance when the medium between the plates is air. Yeah. So can you guys look at this and tell me what is the difference between the way they have did the problem? Nowhere they have used formula. They actually did the problem in the form of derivation. I told you, V is equal to V1 plus V2. So is this not V1? Is this not V2? You're able to understand? So whatever steps I showed you in the derivation they replaced the T with 3D by 4. 3D by 4 and they have proceeded all around. That's it. You're able to understand? Right. With this, the major part of the chapter is over actually. But I know I have to give you more problems for practice. I'll do it. Don't worry. Okay. So if you're clear with this, I'll proceed to the next one.
Sir, I have a doubt. Usually in these questions, do they give the value of kappa, sir, in these type of questions?
This question?
Will they give the value of kappa usually, or will it be unknown?
Yeah, they do it. They do it. But mostly when I observe this, these kind of questions generally come for 3 marks. If I have to speak from the board perspective, they generally ask these kind of problems for 3 marks. But mostly what I've seen is they have asked only with generic values. Generic in the sense they will give it something like this. They will give only the variable, not the values, because their interest is not to check your calculations. This question actually checks the concept, not the calculation if you observe. If you don't know the concept, you cannot get that 4k divided by k plus 3. You're able to understand?
Yes, sir. Understood.
I'll give you some more problems also. See, there is one concept actually which is not there in the textbook, but many times they ask that question. That is not there at all. You cannot find it in the textbook, but I'll be teaching at the end of the chapter. If I teach now, you will get confused. Because I need some time to absorb this concept. It is slightly tough. So work on this. In tomorrow's class, I will discuss what we are supposed to do. Okay. So one last concept with that we will end this session. That is the combination of capacitors. So when I talk about, you would have learned this in your lower grades, right? In your 10th standard especially, there is something called as combination of resistors. So you talk about resistors in series and parallel. In a similar way, capacitor is a device where you can take two capacitors and connect them in series or parallel. So when you do that, what is going to be the net capacitance is what we are going to calculate. Okay. So write down the heading, capacitors in series. So main heading is going to be combination of capacitors. Right. So if I take two capacitors and connect them like this across a source in this way, then I can call it as series connection. So let's say the first capacitor is having capacitance C1, the second is having a capacitance C2. If I connect them like this, I can call it as series. But is the diagrammatic way of telling or explanation is satisfying you? If I give something like this, will you be satisfied saying that? Right. If I draw a diagram and say that this is series combination, you cannot obviously accept it, right? We need to have a definition to it. Right? You're able to understand what I mean by definition. So we need to have a proper definition to it. When can we say the capacitors are connected in series? Okay.
The potential difference is same at every point.
Potential difference is always same for parallel connection. Wherever you see parallel, potential difference only with respect to an electrical circuit. See, generally, there should be some classification or some differentiating factor based on which the classification is done. So Q is equal to CV, right? In this Q is equal to CV, which is a constant.
C is the constant.
C is constant, right? So Q and V are the two variables. So out of those two variables, if you keep one variable constant and the other as a variable still, depending on which one you are keeping as constant and the other is varying, the classification is basically done into two types. One is series and parallel. So in series, what will happen is Q is constant and V is varied. In the sense, if the total potential difference across which you have connected the capacitors is V, then the potential difference across the first capacitor will be V1, potential difference across the second capacitor is V2, the charge across the first capacitor is Q1 and the charge across the second capacitor will be Q2. A small correction to be done. What is it?
Q, sir.
The same Q. Okay, that is what the definition says. So when do we say capacitors are in series? When the charge on both the capacitors is the same and the potential difference is divided among them in such a way that the sum of all the potentials across the capacitor should be equal to how much?
Total potential.
It should be equal to the total potential supplied by us. So V will be equal to V1 plus V2. Now use the formula. Q is equal to CV da. So what will V be equal to? Is it not Q divided by C? So right side, Q divided by C1 plus V2 is Q divided by C2. That is, charge on the first capacitor is Q1, capacitance of the first capacitor is C1. Charge on the second capacitor is Q and the capacitance of the second capacitor is C2. Right? So Q divided by C1 plus Q divided by C2 is still equal to V. I will call it as equation number 1. Okay. Now I need to draw an equivalent circuit for it. What do I mean by equivalent? What do I mean by equivalent circuit? Equivalent circuit means if you have multiple electrical components, okay, if you have multiple electrical components, all those electrical components should be replaced with one particular component of the same nature. Means what I'm trying to say is here you have capacitor. You cannot replace the capacitor with a resistor, no. You will replace all those capacitor with another capacitor which will do the same work done by the combination. Then this capacitor is called as capacitor or effective capacitor. Okay, in such a way, this equivalent capacitance should be connected across the same potential source. Okay, when it is connected across the same potential source, the charge supplied by the potential source is still Q. In this case, what is the relation between C effective Q and V? Q will be equal to C effective into V, accepted? Because Q is equal to CV. Then what will be the value of V? V will be Q divided by C effective. Let this be equation number 2. So if I take the second equation and substitute it in the first, what do I get? Q divided by C effective will be equal to Q by C1 plus Q by C2. From this, what can I conclude, guys? 1 by C effective is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2. So how is this result looking with respect to a resistor?
Resistors in parallel is this.
So the formula which is used for resistors in parallel is the same as capacitors in series. So if n capacitors are there, then what will happen? Okay, I'll write it as capital. If n capacitors are in series, then 1 by C effective will be how much? 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus so on till 1 divided by Cn. Are you able to understand? So this is all about capacitors in series. Okay. Next class we will be discussing about capacitors in parallel, and I will tell you how to handle problems based on the mixed combination of both. Okay. Then we have one more concept which is energy. Then I will explain the concept which is not there in the textbook. Okay. So any other doubt from today's class?
No, sir.
Everyone is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you're clear, we can wind up the session. Okay. I'll see you all tomorrow. Revise these concepts and come. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.